Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to those who've just been back from lunch, and welcome for the first time to the new arrivals. And this is now the third seminar of the series, and I'd like to invite our guest speakers, Richard McCarty and Edward Muchibi, together with our moderator, Dr. Gülşah Göçmen from Aksaray University, to the stage, please. Thanks.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. We are here today not only to talk about food, but also to explore how our food systems can regenerate economies, ecosystems, and the ties that bind our communities. The theme of this session is building resilient food systems from the local to the global through farmers' markets. And we are joined by two exceptional leaders from the slow food movement who will guide us through 5 key levers for food system transformation, drawing on real-world stories from Africa to the Americas. Let me begin first by introducing you to our distinguished speakers. The first speaker is Richard McCarty. He is someone who has played a pivotal role in the growth of the slow food movement, both in the United States and globally. Richard McCarty was born in Germany and raised in the US. He served as the executive director of Slow Food USA for 24 years and has been a member of the Slow Food International Executive Committee since 2013. He is also a co-founder of multiple farmers markets coalitions around the world, and he is a co-author of the book Exploring the Rural-Urban Connection in the Food Systems. And shall I introduce our second speaker as well, and then we can start. Our second speaker, Edward Muchibi, is the current global president of Slow Food and born into a farming family in Uganda in 1986, he holds degrees from Makerere University, University of Gastronomic Sciences in Italy. He is a tropical agronomist and agricultural educator who has been instrumental in developing the Slow Food Gardens initiative across Uganda. A member of the Slow Food Executive Committee since 2012, he has become the organization's president in July 2022. He advocates for agroecological farming as a tool to fight hunger, poverty, malnutrition, and social justice. Please give a warm welcome to our both speakers, and the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, hello, everyone, and thank you so much for inviting us here to your beautiful community. This is my first time in your country, and I have long been a fan of your food, or maybe what I should say is your foods, because it's such an interesting story of place and people and products that only from the outside we have such a glimpse of, and I'm so excited to be so close to it now. I'm also very excited to be here for the establishment of a new Earth Market this weekend, which I think is a very important emblem of possibilities as we rediscover traditional foods that we are losing, and also embrace a new approach to reconnecting to food through the ancient mechanism of markets, where the public assembly of farmers congregate, compete, and also cooperate with consumers. And this is sort of the extraordinary thing about this farmers market revival that is really taking the world by storm. We know that we are at the tail end of this very strange period of globalization, where we can travel all over. There's seamlessness with products moving about the world, where there are rather dominant ideas that food should be fast, that the scale of life should be large, and that doesn't matter where you are in the world, you can find a hamburger, and it should roughly be the same. There's this wonderful response to this, which I think is encapsulated in the revival of the ancient market, is that no, we should actually preserve and treasure places, because it's in these places, these bioregions, these communities that we inhabit, that we develop unique relationships with our foods. And this is why we wind up with different food traditions. So this extraordinary thing happened on the way to the 21st century, was this rediscovery of farmers markets. And let me describe to you what is meant as a farmers market, because I know in Turkey you have an incredible tradition of territorial markets, traditional markets. These continue to exist, and they should exist. But they are under threat with the insertion of global goods. The opaque governance of traditional markets has meant that we wind up in a world where the only good things now come out of supermarkets. And this is one of the problems we have is, especially in the global south, people want everything in refrigeration and clean and organized in this sort of supermarket world where everything is in season all the time, almost as if it's coming from a vending machine, and we have no relationship with time and place and people. And what I was part of now, it seems like many years ago, in my hometown of New Orleans in the United States, was to take this very old idea of markets where there's a public assembly of competing vendors who sell the fruits of their labor and who physically stand behind the fruits of their labor and sell them to the public in a recurring, whether it's monthly or every other week or weekly or more than weekly, in a setting that these new style farmers markets, and Slow Food has a subset of these farmers markets called Earth Markets. So they operate under Slow Food principles that the food must be good, clean, and fair. Is that these become places that are managed. There's governance, there's clear sets of rules of which products are here and why, that the market organizers go and inspect the farms to make sure that they are the farmers themselves. And what this sort of new approach to farmers markets means is that it's very future driven. It's not like your grandfather's market, though we hope that the grandmothers and the grandfathers are there, both as shoppers and as vendors in the market. But these become places that are more than just about selling and buying products. These become very intentional platforms for learning. We know that change is difficult. Changing anything in our lives is difficult. Changing what we eat is especially difficult. It's very personal. But that the markets become very successful institutions as agents of change when they're able to achieve a balance. And the balance between three important constituencies. A balance for the consumer, that they have access to fresh food, fresh, local, healthy food directly from the farmer, so they can engage in conversation with the farmer. And so there's a food access benefit. The farmer gains access to a new clientele, a new customer of shoppers who value the fact that the products come directly from the farmer, who value the fact that the products in the market may not be destined to the grocery store shelves. They may not be designed to ship long distances. They're designed to be grown and consumed within a territory. And therefore, the farmer gains access to what us consumers know or don't know. And very often, we don't know very much about our foods. We've lost track of traditional foods, traditional recipes. We don't know when strawberries are in season because in the supermarket, they're always in season. So this becomes a very important platform for the farmer to learn and redesign their business around this new customer base. And as a result, it becomes like a business incubation academy. And as a result of that, members of the family begin to find new roles for them in their farm business. Young people, women, in particular, I can say that men are good in farmers markets. Women are much better. They're much better sellers. They listen, they pay attention. They're very good at nonverbal communication. And what we find is that women who are vendors in the markets come home with cash in their hands and begin to make different kinds of decisions about how to grow the agricultural business so that it has a next generation. And that pathway takes them away from the bigger is better model towards one of diversifying the farm towards greater diversity of products, always having cash flow so that there's always products to sell, extending seasons. This is the extraordinary thing that happens in these farmers markets as an entrepreneurial academy. And then, of course, the skill of running the market, because it's not just, they don't just happen. It is a team of professionals, maybe volunteers, hopefully paid, who actually orchestrate the rules and regulations, the layout and design of the market. It's, you know, when you actually visit a traditional market and wonder, this place feels like it's been here forever. Maybe it has. How wide are the aisles? How long is the market? What is the shape of it? How close are the vendors to each other? This is the sort of placemaking that takes place in markets that helps to shape consumer behavior. It creates a sense of place that when you enter into the market, no matter what the rules are out in the world, in the market, we have a set of rules that we treat each other with dignity, with transparency, and that the values of the market are one that is inclusive. As a result of this, these public spaces become moments of democracy, transparency, and also a hope for the future. And as a result, what we see, and I'm president of the World Farmers Markets Coalition, one of the many NGOs that Slow Food works with, is that we see farmers markets emerging all over the world because consumers and producers are saying there's not a place for me in this world when everything is bigger and faster and does not reflect my place and my tastes and my tradition. And as a result, what we begin to see emerging in the farmers markets is this idea of almost the republic of farmers markets, where we play out what does it mean to live in a community where we are accountable to each other, where we see each other on a regular basis. We may not know the name of the mushroom farmer, but we know his face and he knows yours on a regular basis. And as a result, what we're seeing is an incredible amount of experimentation and success in regrowing local food economies and local communities through the development of farmers markets.
Thank you. Now, Edward, it's your turn.
Richard has a lot of experience with setting up farmers markets. And he will agree with me that one of the most difficult part of setting up a farmers market is to find the most sustainable and inclusive governance model, right, for the farmers market. But again, before we go to the governance of the farmers markets, I will add on to what Richard has said. I want to share with you another personal story. For the last 14 years, I have been traveling in many African countries, like 30 African countries, on top of other countries around the world that have traveled and met farmers and talked to farmers and talked to people in the food and agricultural sector. In 2015, 10 years ago, I traveled to Ghana, a country in West Africa. I was on the mission on setting up slow food gardens together with the local slow food network in Ghana. Then we went to many communities close to the mountains on the Togo border. When I reached this place, I talked to the farmers, the challenges they face in doing their farming business, farming activities. They are growing local foodstuffs, they are growing local crops, they are keeping local poultry, chicken, keeping goats, local goats, and they have a lot of products because the climate is very good and they are very passionate about working with nature. And I asked them, what is the main challenge that you face? And some women told me, lack of market. We want to earn some money from the work that we do, but we have nowhere to sell the products. And this is a place which is populated. And I asked, how comes people are producing such high quality products locally, but they cannot find where to sell the products? Then there is a town which we went to, and there is a supermarket. And this is part of the major, this supermarket is part of the major supermarket franchise in Africa called ShopRite. This supermarket, I went to the vegetable shelf, to the food part in this town, and I found in this community where people produce a lot of African indigenous vegetables, I found vegetables from South Africa, in the very, very far away from the city. When you check the shelf, most of the supermarkets in these countries, they have food products from far away. Cheese, milk, eggs from Germany. Milk, packed milk in the supermarket, very far away from the center of this town, of the country, from Netherlands. And these are the ones which are available for people to buy in the supermarket. And a lot of people find it very cool and modern to go and buy from the supermarkets. So this is one of the effects of working a lot with the global supply chains. But then, as Slow Food, we have a different approach. Not only to create local supply chains, but supply systems. Working with the community to create a market locally, and also to have the high quality products in this market such that people locally can appreciate, but also they get education, they get inspiration, but also they get awareness that our local traditional products, our gastronomy is still very important in our place, in our territory, in our area. But also it's important to bring these products to the local farmers market and create or develop local economies. So this is something that struck me. And this is the first time that I picked 10 years ago that I started picking interest in not only developing gardens, developing farms, but to start working with farmers to develop markets. And I was lucky that this is the same year that I went to New Orleans in the US, and Richard took me to open the farmers market in New Orleans, in Louisiana, in the US. So this is also where I got the inspiration to continue working a lot with farmers markets, because farming of growing crops and raising animals is not complete until farmers find a way to make money and finance their farming operations and meet their expenses. But again, what matters a lot is how does this money circulate within the local economy, from the consumers to the farmers, and then the farmers can invest in other activities, which again, in that local area can benefit the consumer indirectly. So this is the system that we need to work in. We need to close the supply chain and turn it into a supply system. Because for a supply chain, the product is sent and the suppliers say to whom it may concern. They don't even get the feedback. They don't understand how this product is going to affect local economies. They don't care if a product from far away, from elsewhere, is going to kill the local production systems. What they're interested in is to send the product, make money, and get a profit. This is different from the slow food markets, from the local farmers markets. The money keeps in circulation and returns indirectly some benefits to the consumers in terms of health, in terms of environment, in terms of dignity to the place where we stay, but also in terms of the conviction that we are doing the right thing if we visit the farmers market, talk to the farmers, and buy our foodstuffs from that market. So this is why the farmers market is not only standing on its own, like made by the farmers, and they meet the consumers to sell the product. There should be a governance issue involved. Governance issues in terms of the treaties our countries sign with global food supply systems, the governance issues related to giving public spaces to farmers to sell their product and meet the consumers. Because when I was in New Orleans, I saw that this is a highly participatory place where the city council, with the farmers, with the movement, farmers movement leaders, and other people come together to say, we need a public place where our people can not only buy fresh and healthy food, but they can learn more on how we can develop the good food sector in this area. This is some extra advantage that farmers market give. So it needs strong governance. It also needs a participatory approach to set up and run a farmers market. It also needs to understand how our decisions when we buy food affects the economy of the places where we stay. So if we choose to buy food from very far away, yet there is a similar high quality product in the vicinity of our households, we are choosing to deny a strong economic development system in our own territories, and we are sending all these resources away. So participatory governance and management of the farmers market, but also it's very important that I've visited some farmers markets which are really working very well in the beginning, and they are after 5 years, 6 years, the trend is going down because yes, we are farmers and we meet and sell the products and we don't talk about our market anymore. We just meet and sell the products and go home. That is also not right. Because one of the reasons why farmers markets need to be in every single local community or town is mostly to share information, to create the education we can never get in formal academic institutions, to create education about biodiversity, to create awareness about eating local, about promoting our local gastronomy, about promoting our diverse foods that we have in there. So if we stop talking about the benefits and the good things farmers markets do, they will lose morale and popularity. So it's very important to share information. For the young people, it's very important to visit these farmers markets give them a service, share on your social media, integrate innovative ways of communication like information and communication and technology into promoting these farmers markets. And this is the collective action that we need to change things around us. So for me, farmers markets play a very important role, not only to the farmers, but to the entire community. Because when we have a very strong local economy, we can have healthy people, we can have better local businesses, and also we can attract more other services and benefits to the community. When there is a farmers market that is dedicated, where the farmers dedicate their time to bring the unique traditional products with unique recipes and share this information, it's also a very big pillar in gastronomic tourism. A lot of visitors come not only to buy the product, but also to get the service of knowing what unique products are in this territory. So basically, I'm trying to mean that farmers markets do not only provide the healthy food from the farm to the consumers, but they provide a lot of other added benefits, like building local economies, supporting healthy, short value chains or value systems in our communities, but also raising a lot of awareness about the future of food and also bringing value-added advantages like sustainable tourism and also a meeting place where people can work together and talk to each other. But also they are very, very important tools and also public spaces to talk about food policies in our towns, in our cities, in the places where we work. Everything needs to start from there. Then we talk about changing the local food policies by showing how local farmers markets can make a very big case for a better localized food system. So for me, it's very, very important that at least every town, every place should have this connection between the rural and the urban, and we can do that through farmers markets. But to address there are many challenges farmers markets face, but to address them, we need strong governance and we need collective action together. It's not only farmers, it's not only consumers, it's the city or town governance systems. We need researchers there, we need everyone, because it's really a very complicated journey to set up a farmers market that is sustainable, that is resilient, that is going to stay there for long and serve different generations of people.
Thank you. I have this question that we promote farmers markets, we value them, individually, at least I do, and I try to pay attention to what I consume. Especially, I like reading labels of what I get from the markets, if it's from this region or not. Sometimes I see some labels, although we produce that product here, it comes from someplace else. So I don't want to buy such products personally, individually. I try to do that. But I think there is this dilemma about the farmers' markets. It's that I think they also need to have some part of this, at least a slice of this global capitalist pie, so that they can still keep going, But we also want to preserve their authenticity, their locality, and producing clean and fair food. But I think if we there are maybe some local markets which become products to be sold like globally and in the capitalistic world. But do you think they can preserve themselves like that in the long run? You mentioned this, dear Edward, you mentioned this loss of the job after 5 or 6 years if they cannot make a sustainable profit. So how do you see this future of, let's say, farmers markets around the world?
Yeah, like I said, in the future of farmers markets, governance plays a very crucial role. and also raising awareness about the importance of the farmers market, not only to the farmers and consumers, but also to the cities, to the territories, to the communities where these farmers markets are. Of course, farmers markets are business centers where farmers come to make business, they sell the products, they exchange products for money or service for money. Yes, there is a bit of capital gain or capitalistic operations. That one we cannot deny. But also these are very special entities that need to be also protected by the local laws. Because they are not only exchanging products, but they are exchanging knowledge for good health, knowledge for environmental protection, and also motivating and working towards these intrinsic values of running a local farmer-led food business. So one, they need protection from the local laws and policies. In terms of giving them incentives to continue operating, because of course farmers will not run a market every day.
Yeah.
I get worried when I travel to some places and I am taken to a farmers market and they tell me this is a farmers market, it runs every day from 6 to 7. Me as a farmer, I try to find where do these farmers really get the time to farm and then to be in the market every day. So farmers may not be in the market every day. They need to tend to the farm. They need to work on the farm. Of course, also their children, sometimes they come to the market, but also they have other things to do. So in this case, they cannot catch up with the traditional territorial market systems, because also the governance in those territorial market systems, the governance systems are very complicated. So they need local regulations that can recognize their job as a farmer and their job as a market vendor. I've seen in many countries, I've gone to many countries, and you find that the former farmers market only remained with the name farmers market, but it's vendors who come and sell in the name because they know it's like the business people who don't even farm, they go and collect products from the farmers and they come and sell because they know it's cool to say this is a farmer's market. So only regulations can protect the name and also the value of farmers markets, but also our own promotion and also support to tell which one is the true farmer's market, which one is not a farmer's market. Like you said, you check the products, and it's very important that in a farmer's market, the buyers create a relationship with their producer. You know, this person is not here. You know, this person is not here today. We will be there tomorrow, and keeping the contact. Farmers markets should not only happen physically when you meet, also a call or a message through digital platforms to have your food delivered, or to have a specific ingredient delivered, or to make an appointment where when you can pass by the farm and also pick something or vegetables delivered. It's all part of the supply system that makes the farmers market thrive. In Uganda, we created a slow food farmers market, the Earth Market, 10 years ago, and the number was like 50 farmers coming to sell in this market every week, once a week, and then the number went down to 25, 20. Those who come physically. And then I tried to investigate why the number is physically going down. And then I visited all the people who were not coming to the market anymore. And I asked, why don't you come to the market anymore? And one lady told me that because everything I plan to sell on the market day, I already got contacts of the people who actually, my daughter and my son, they go and deliver the products to them. So the only reason why I cannot come every day because it's an economic issue. I spend transport, but at the end of the month, I come for the farmers market meeting and debate and discuss how we can improve this market. So not every farmer will come every day after some time. But we need also to keep track on why the numbers are going down sometimes, but also how this market has impacted people, and to tell these stories of change. This could also help build a better and a stronger case for the farmers market. So the big question on sustaining farmers market has to deal with the economy.
Yeah.
Is it profitable to the farmer to come every day? Do we need incentives to these farmers? Is there a strong linkage? Because like I said, the farmers market doesn't stand on its own. It needs to connect with the restaurants, with the cooks, with the public procurement systems, with the people who cannot come to the market every day, but they need the product to be delivered. That one we can keep in touch with technology and deal with solving that supply chain issue, but also this sustaining the farmers market has a lot to do with the territorial governance, the governance of the territory.
Yes.
So these are some of the key things that we need to look at when we are planning and promoting this long-term sustainability of farmers markets.
Thank you. Richard, would you like to say something?
Yes, I can come back to my story of in New Orleans 30 years ago, when I had established the first farmers market actually to emerge in the territory for many, many years. I was completely oblivious as to how complicated this would be. I thought, how difficult is it to invite a group of farmers to set up their tents and umbrellas and tables in a car park, and shoppers would come and it would just kind of run itself. I mean, thank heavens I was that naive, because had I known how complicated it would be, I probably would not have undertaken it. We'd encountered many challenges along the way. For one, I lived in a town that had a very famous market that was no longer a farmer's market. The traditional market had become a tourist market, because what had happened to our economy was so focused around tourism that the whole infrastructure of our city and our region was designed for visitors, not for us who live there. And this is, I know, a real challenge when tourism is successful. How do you balance the ability to invite outsiders, to spend money, new money that comes into the economy, versus how do you make sure that your community functions economically, socially as a place? This is what incited us to establish a farmers market, because when I spoke with the farmers from the region, they said, like Eddie described in Africa, in Uganda, I cannot find a place to sell my products. So we thought, well, we can be that place. Now, we may look very informal, and the informality is so attractive. There are tents, there are umbrellas. It doesn't even seem like someone runs this place, that may be open just for one morning in one car park or street. But behind the scenes, it's very formal. And this is where I think the long-term sustainability of institutions like farmers markets are, that there needs to be very clear rules and regulations. The market organization charges the farmers a rent for their place in the market. It becomes a social enterprise, a business that also has to compete in this larger capitalist world where products are disconnected from people. They just arrive in a jar. This means that the success of the markets relies upon the leadership among the farmers and the leadership that we cultivate. And in particular, it's young leaders in the families, in family agriculture, who really rise to the occasion and see the future possibility of a farm that uses the farmers market as one point of entry, but then may have an agritourism, may have a you-pick-em operation, may have a CSA, a community-supported agriculture subscription. They may have multiple places that they sell their brand and their product. And there's a real opportunity to cultivate that as something unique to that place. The leadership is also important among consumers who advocate for eating locally, who advocate for the value of fresh goods. But there's also the importance, the leadership of the market organizers to actually animate a public space, because what we're trading in is the experiential economy. I mean, we find is that when you go to a market, you want it to be beautiful. You know, you want the experience to be the soft edges of a city are in the market. You see flowers when you enter, not necessarily the knife sharpener, you know, and so there's a lot of design that goes into the art and expertise of running a market, and that it is an experience that is important for those who are shopping. But as we know, when we've done enough studies over the years to look at who is in the market, they're coming not just to shop, but to gossip. They're coming to meet people. When times are not good economically, it's one of the cheapest dates out there. You meet people under the cooking demonstration tent, and wow, you can take someone out for a meal that you're not even paying for because it's free for this wonderful experience. We began to realize that the markets are maybe one of the few places where we cultivate social trust. Trust between the farmer and the consumer in a way that you don't otherwise experience in the rest of our lives. So there's a great deal of responsibility of the market organizer to not lose track of what is our mission and not to get thrown off mission. So that means making sure that the products and the people, the farmers and their products are authentic, they're true, they belong in alignment with the mission of the farmers market. It's local, clean, fresh, whatever the mission is. And that you have a responsibility to cultivate a place that is welcoming to all people. And all people is old, young, migrants, traditional people from the area, is how to create that public space that is inclusive, democratic, and light. Because one of the great sneaky success stories about the farmers markets is that they look like they're fun. They look like they're not serious. But underneath, they're very serious political institutions that create an alternative to the wild world that spins around us. And it's grounded in community and trust.
Thank you. I would like to ask our audience, do you have any questions that we can keep going our conversation together? No questions?
How many of you have shopped at a farmer's market? Okay, all right, that's good, that's good.
Yeah. There are some farmers markets in Aksaray, where I live right now. When I go there, I see some strategies of the farmers. For instance, they use market-bought eggs. They replace them on their own place. You can see the numbers on it, but they still think that this is some of the products are local, and you can see that they grow it, but others are bought from the market, and they are trying to sell it like that. They are in a way challenging their own products, their quality. It's really interesting to me. How would you comment this?
Well, yeah. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. We could have an entire seminar on that.
Yes.
Very.
Yeah. Okay.
Gülşah Hocam, Türkçe mi? Shall I answer in English? Because our farmers market are subsidized by our municipalities. And the municipalities don't have enough regulation, like Slow Food or World Market Coalition. The World Farmers Market, it's such a long name, I can never finish. if you have a regulation like in the slow food earth markets, you will see it on Saturday, or in one of the World Farmers Market Coalition's market, you will see that there are rules. But municipalities are political places. They don't want to say no to these farmers. That's the problem.
Thank you, hocam. Thank you.
Amore.
Okay, I'm from the Earth Market Maitland in Australia. It's interesting with the numbering system because in our context, the numbers, if you're a small scale farmer and you only produce about 20 dozen eggs a week, the government actually gives you a numbering system so we can track those eggs. I mean, the ultimate aim is to be able to track eggs, for example. So all eggs are numbered and all small-scale farmers are given the opportunity to have a number. So generally, so we can track them. So maybe there is a system there in your system as well, which is similar to ours.
I don't think so because, they only offer a few products. You can tell that they live in this village and they are actually producing these 3 products. But the eggs are just alternatives to sell. With tomatoes, yeah. Yes, please.
Hello, I have a question about the farmers markets to Richard. You mentioned that you realize these places, the farmers markets, are actually places to gather and for people to, share a public space. As an architect who is focused on the creation of place, this is very interesting for me. I really wanted to know if you are working with designers or city designers or architects to create this space and not only about what to sell there or how to call the farmers, but also create a space, to design a space. Do you have a research about this? Do you collect data and then progress it to the design?
Oh, I'm so happy to hear a question about the unusual architectural skill of placemaking. We know that in the world we live in now, it is dominated by one instrument for placemaking, the automobile. The automobile defines what space we are allowed to occupy. We know that we cannot walk on the street because we will get run over, depending upon where you live. We know that there are car parks, and there's a whole design for how large the space, and the whole civic engineering for our reality is largely shaped by the automobile. Of course, in an earlier age, it was the horse, and you can see towns that were designed when it was the horse was how we traveled. We know that for placemaking, public space in much of the world is almost illegal. It's not incorporated into civic design, town squares, piazzas. There are many places in the world where we really have to fight to find that place to gather. Markets have always been one of the places where we gather. It's one of the places where we gather to debate issues, lead revolutions. They very often start in the markets because they are tight spaces. I would say that unlike the market you described that is municipally run, who may not really have an opinion about what food is on offer there, and therefore there's no governance for the authenticity of place, it can confuse the consumer base. What it does tend to do, though, when it's a municipally run market, is that it's a fixed building or a fixed shed structure, which is nice. It's great, especially when the sun is out and you want to be in the shade, or it's raining, or it's cold. There is some real benefit to having a fixed structure. On the other hand, if you have a fixed structure market, you have to care more about how do I maintain the physical property. I have to worry about fixing the roof or all of the issues about physical infrastructure. The revolution that's taking place with this new forward-looking farmers markets is that we're generally not building places. We're occupying spaces that are only being used temporarily for the the transactions to purchase food. So it may be that we occupy a space for 4 hours, 8 hours a week, or 16 hours a week if it's more than one day, but definitely not every day because someone has to farm. But the exciting thing is that there's a skill set that we need. We need architects to help us really learn about the retail anthropology. Spaces are designed, when you think of a supermarket, they have architects who are expert in retail anthropology. They know how to walk you through a space and put the flowers or the fruit at the entrance. They know not to put boundaries, but to put like a V so you can walk to the left or walk to the right. This kind of architecture of space, I would say that many farmers market organizers are accidentally expert in it because they learn by doing. We have tried to analyze what is the right scale of a market, what is the right width of a market space that provides people enough room to walk through, but you don't want it to be so wide that you feel lonely. Because one of the successes of a farmer's market is you're with other people. You're bumping into people. You feel the warmth of the crowd of people who are there for the same reason. And yet, we know that we make mistakes all the time. But if the market is entirely temporary, the mistakes you make one week, you can fix the next. And that's the beauty of being able to build the road as we travel. But we know that that sounds easy, but farmers, if you ask them to move, 1 meter this way or 1 meter that way, they will yell at you and say, no, I'm in starvation corner if I'm over here. Or if they're next to a competitor who has the same products, they're like, don't put me next to them. So there's a lot of thought that has to go into the space itself. And I'd say there's some research on it. The Project for Public Spaces is an organization that's done fairly good research on it. But it's kind of a new frontier of public space making that helps to cultivate the good elements of bringing people together rather than the bad. And that there's a lot of thought that goes into it. But most of the markets are very undercapitalized, so they rely on expertise that is often donated. So a relationship with architecture schools is one of the great opportunities to share that insight as to how to design a space that works for people.
Yes.
Yeah, I want to add to what Richard has said by highlighting the process of setting up a farmer's market, at least according to the Slow Food Guidelines. The physical structure, be it temporary or permanent, that we see where people come to sell the products, that is the final or one of the last steps of setting up a farmer's market. But it's a very long process that we need to follow to set up a farmer's market. One, we need to cultivate people in the farmer's market. It's not enough to cultivate products that you will sell in the market, but it's very, very important to cultivate people that will sustain the market. This means farmers and consumers, like I said before, they are just two out of the many people we need to cultivate to be in the market. We need to work with the municipalities or the political or policy makers, people who govern the public spaces. We need to work with them. So that means we need to do a comprehensive stakeholder mapping and engagement. We need to know, what do we need in the market? Do we need any specific architectural drawing, even for the temporary stuff? We need now to map who in the community or in the municipality or who in the city can volunteer to do that. Because like what Richard said, many of these markets are underfunded or undercapitalized. So we need to also find a lot of people who can do a voluntary job. In many cases, you find that if you cultivate the municipal or the policy, at the policy level, you cultivate a lot of people, you'll find the right people to support you in designing and how best you can utilize the public space. Sometimes you find a lot of university students want to put tests to their knowledge to see if they can design a very good and very welcoming public market space for the farmers. So there are quite a lot of talented people that we need to work with to bring together, because it's not only about farmers coming to sell products to the consumers. It's about a collective action that we need to do when we are setting up a farmers market. We need to have a lot of stakeholders coming together, social media personalities, local influencers. In my community, we call them village intellectuals. There are people who have the lead on the opinion on many things. So this is one of the most taxing and the longest process in setting up a farmers market, to cultivate people, to cultivate a movement around this market which you're creating. The space, the physical space of and the moment of selling the products, that is the final part. But there is a lot of work that you need to do in setting up the farmers market. It's also very important, this process of cultivating people and setting up systems, governance structures, leadership structures, feedback loops, communication channels, and building relationships. This whole process is also very important in ensuring the integrity or in safeguarding the integrity of the farmers market. Many times, the typical territorial markets set up by municipalities lack these kind of loops: the feedback loop, the management loop, the participatory and the equity loop. These ones lack in most of the markets. That's why the integrity becomes a problem after some time. But when you set up a system where farmers know each other, there is a relationship between the consumers and the farmers, and you can, as consumers, you don't see a problem in the market and just walk away. There is a feedback loop in the market. You give feedback, you become a co-producer in the market. That feedback you give to the farmers is very, very important in improving the market and also building integrity in the market. So, of course, if there is no trust and people, they just come to sell and make money, the chances of people bringing in, or what we call it infiltration, the product infiltration will be very high. But if you build trust from the beginning and you cultivate the social capital, the human resource, and also these kind of social relationships in the market, the chances of product infiltrations will be low, because every farmer will know that this one produces this product. Your relationship will be important in safeguarding the quality. Your feedback will also be very important, not only to the farmers, but also to the municipality, to the leadership, to the governance system of the market. So the markets, the farmers' markets should not be just supply chains. Like I said at the beginning, they should be supply systems. They should be local economic systems that we can work together to sustain. It's not just sell the product and you go away, or buy the product and go away. There should be that circularity in information flow, in money flow, in resource flow, knowledge flow, and everything should be rotating around that circular system. So that's why the farmers' markets should be different from the mainstream supply chain systems and mainstream territorial markets.
Thank you very much. I think we have come to the end of our session. We have explored farmers markets as catalysts, also as platforms of resilience. It was a very nice and insightful session. Thank you for your contributions. Thank you for listening. Thank you.